Having depression sucks, and if I can't feel any joy, then I'll settle for pain. That's why I've started what is probably going to be the most painful Skyrim playthrough ever. Survival mode can be quite difficult, and so could legendary difficulty. Legendary survival is borderline masochistic, but only to the same extent as small love taps. What I'm looking for is the full latex back aisles of Spencer stuff, and that's why I've decided to start an unarmed legendary survival playthrough. Now, this is going to be done using vanilla Anniversary Edition Skyrim, so I won't have any crazy mods that'll make this any easier on me. Naturally, I'll be using a Khajiit for this playthrough, because if you didn't know, they come with a couple of perks that'll be perfect for this build. Khajiits have the highest unarmed damage of all of the available races. Humans and elves, they deal a measly 4 points of damage, while the Argonians deal about 10 points of damage. Our furry little friend, however, will deal a whopping 22 points of unarmed damage. I thought I was out of the hot water when I got away from that dragon, but it turns out that was the least of my worries. These fights are going to take me quite a while, but somebody called Vince McMahon because I am the tribal chief of these parts. For your mama, for your daddy, and two for your brothers. You could just call me the Underkitty because look at the form on that choke slam. Look at me feeding the creatures of Skyrim. I am such a philanthropist. Now I'm gonna need some things in order to make this build viable at all. I'm gonna want to get as much gear as possible that could help improve my unarmed damage, and there are some early game items that I could get that'll help out with that. The first thing that I want to grab are the Gloves of the Pugilist. I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce them, but I'm just rolling with it. You could find these in the Radaway below Riften, and these gloves have an enchantment that will increase your unarmed damage. Now, these may not be as necessary in the Anniversary Edition of the game, thanks to the addition of the Fearsome Fists, but where it does benefit me greatly is that I can disenchant those gloves and apply that enchantment to any new gear that I get, which will stack quite well with the Fearsome Fists. Because of this, I'm going to want to focus a lot on improving my blacksmithing and enchanting, and this is where the classic moneymaker that is alchemy will really benefit me. So alchemy will be my main source of revenue in the game, but what I will not be doing is using it as any kind of exploit. This playthrough is going to be completely exploit free because I want to get that full "it hurts so good" experience. They say don't poke the bear, but what they don't know is that I am the alpha of this furry party. That's right, buddy, I am the bear here. I made my way on over to the local town of Riverwood, because what I need more than anything right now is a good meat shield. Because much like my ex, I don't suffer alone. Real men drag people down with them. I need to recruit Findal for my cause, but in order to do that, I need to ruin this poor fellow's love life. Look at his mother, just watching with knowing eyes, fearful for the emotional well-being of her son. Now, Findal will be a great friend for us, not because of the emotional support that he provides, but because of the protection that his body will provide to stop any incoming blows from killing me. He also has a great proclivity for carrying stuff around. You could say he's the full package. I stopped by the Riverwood Trader to deceive the shopkeeper's sister and cook myself some food because in order to make it big in the WWE, you're gonna need to stay well fed. Our nefarious plan was a raging success in the sense that we were successful and Sven is raging. The poor guy's probably gonna die alone now, but that's okay because I'm saving the world here. This town is so welcoming. They even have a bunch of iron bars out here for anybody who needs them. I grabbed some of the complimentary iron bars to make myself a pair of iron brawler's gloves. I'll be using heavy armor for this build because at level 30 I'll be able to unlock the Fists of Steel perk, which will come in handy for this build. Now, one item that I really want to get for this build is Ariel's shield. Being unarmed, I'll be using a shield to help increase my survivability in combat. And this item can be obtained fairly far into the Dawnguard questline. Now, during that questline, I will be facing a really big choice, and that is, should I become a vampire lord? Seeing as I am trying to max out my unarmed bonuses, it seems like it would be a logical choice because becoming a vampire lord will increase my unarmed damage. However, since this is a survival save, there is one big problem that I'll have to consider, and that is warmth. In survival mode, you have to manage your warmth in a lot of places. If it's too cold, then you'll be suffering some nasty debuffs as well as growing limitations to your health. This is a problem because as a vampire, you're going to want to travel around at night when it's a lot colder. And because of this, I'm going to have to decide if the pros of being a vampire will outweigh the cons. Thankfully, though, I will not have to reach a decision on that right away because I want to wait until I'm maybe around level 15 or so before I start the Dawnguard questline. In the meantime, I am going to need a trusty steed to help me get around because I can't fast travel. So what I will be doing first is getting started with the Dark Brotherhood questline so I could unlock good old Shadowmere. There was a slight problem as I approached Riften, where as the guard was extorting me for a visitor's tax, an Imperial courier came up and they just started lighting him up with arrows. I don't know if they deserve to be promoted or fired, because they chased him for quite a while. On one hand, they are quite dedicated to their craft, but on the other hand, anybody could have slipped right in without paying the tax. Does that count as tax evasion? As I attempted to conquer the Radaway to get my gloves, I ran into a slight mishap, as apparently the archer here is equipped with an RPG. Had I known Americans were down here, I would have avoided it altogether. I had to get as far away from Riften as I could, so I made my way on over to Windhelm instead. I figured now would be a good time to upgrade my armor, so I put my second perk point into steel smithing, and now I could get myself a set of steel armor with some steel brawler's gauntlets. This is going to help out quite a lot because the steel armor offers the highest level of warmth available, and maybe the steel plating is strong enough to withstand homing missiles. Now I won't have to waste any of this cat's 9 lives on freezing to death. Are there any biologists watching this video? Because when a cat freezes to death, how long does it take for it to freeze to death again? Is there a cooldown period between lives or something? Let me know in the comments. I should probably call Child Protective Services, but this child has an important quest for me, and he seems to be managing just fine on his own. Imagine you're being scalded by some old lady and a bipedal cat runs up and Will Smiths her to death. These children are definitely going to need therapy, but that's okay because trauma builds character. Don't forget to donate to your local beggars for tax purposes. I would call CPS now that the quest is complete, but my Raven got stolen back in Riften. It's not like anybody Ravens back when I Raven them anyway. I'm sure that kid will be fine. I was exhausted from crushing the skull of an elderly woman, so I stopped by the inn to sleep, and then made my way back on over to Whiterun to have a chat with the Jarl. But I got stopped by the courier on the way into the city. I was expecting another letter about my horse's extended warranty, but unfortunately it was just a letter from the Finger Painters Guild of Skyrim. It's nice of them to let me know that they know. I don't know what they know, but it's cool that they know it. Their finger painting skills are remarkable, but their communication needs some work. I stopped by this cute Airbnb to get some more sleep when the Finger Painters Club of Skyrim kidnapped me and brought me to a lovely secluded shack up north. How romantic. I'm afraid I will be leaving a 1-star strongly worded review for the Airbnb though because the food was oversalted and I also got kidnapped. Now I understand that this lady is upset about the bag on her head, but that's no excuse to be such a Karen. So I had no choice but to show her how we handle disrespect back in Elsewhere. As nice as the romantic getaway was, it would have been nicer if the spandex lady had chosen a better location for our bondage party, because now I'm stuck on an island surrounded by frigid water. Doesn't she know that cats hate water? I tried to take out my frustration by beating an elk to death, but he got the best of me by running across the river. How did he know my only weakness? Instead, I chose to beat some crabs to death, because real men punch down. I stopped by Solitude because I really needed some sleep. I think I might have hypersomnia. When I arrived though, I was excited to see that they had on my favorite show, Public Execution. I was enjoying myself when none other than Arnold Schwarzenegger showed up to watch. This day just keeps getting better and better. I tried to take the head as a souvenir, but someone else must have called dibs because everyone tried to kill me. Had I known that this would cause such pandemonium, I would have just asked for a lock of hair or something. I figured I would stop by the local apothecary and brew some potions, because if you didn't know, alchemy is the most lucrative business in Skyrim. This brings me back to when I was a child and would mix all of the spices and condiments in the house together for fun. At least it was fun until my brother forced me to drink it. It tasted like trauma. Most of these potions probably don't do anything, but don't tell the shopkeeper that. Half of the profession is looking like you know what you're doing. I felt pretty unwelcome in Solitude after they attempted to add me to their roster of public executions, so I hightailed it out of there before the local alchemist found out that I just sold her a bunch of snake oil. It was a relief to finally make it to Dragon's Reach, but then I was startled as I was approached by a malnourished woman with an awful skincare regimen. Because of the kidnapping, attempted public executions, and hostility of the local elves, I feel like nobody takes the whole dragons attacking the country situation seriously, at least not as much as I do.
There is another thing you could do for me. Suitable for someone of your particular talents?
Not even the Jarl seems to take this situation seriously, because he sees it as an opportunity to ask for sexual favors. My teeth are very sharp, sir. You don't want this. Before I made my way out, I needed to quickly craft myself some head protection, because trauma to the brain will kill you quicker than exposure, Mother always said. Thanks to the terrible directions given by the Finger Painters Club of Skyrim, I got lost up a mountain, so I decided I would stop by the local crypt and do some grave robbing. This seems to be a popular pastime in Skyrim, as the local hillbillies have beaten me to it. Grave robbing is very disrespectful, so I beat them to death like any sensible person would. I considered firing Faendal, but it's not because I'm prejudiced against the Bosmer, it's just that I strongly dislike them. I didn't want to sound too insensitive though, and I'm unfamiliar with Skyrim's anti-discrimination laws, so instead I just gave him an axe and figured he'd get himself killed eventually. Thankfully, I entered the crypt at just the right time, because one of the hillbillies were sexually harassing a poor woman. But she must have been terrified of cats because she tried to kill me. Maybe she's allergic. Either way, my timing is impeccable. All of that fighting left me exhausted though, so I took a nap and leveled up my alchemy so my snake oil could be more convincing. Somewhere deep inside of this crypt, I ran into a LARPing room, where there was a really well done recreation of that scene from Lord of the Rings. I tried to show Arvel my cool wrestling moves, but unfortunately he didn't position himself correctly for my finisher, so he broke his neck. That's what you get for being unprofessional. The inhabitants of this crypt didn't seem to take too kindly to unwanted visitors, because they were extremely hostile towards me. I don't blame them though, because if I were dead, I would be pretty upset about it too. But don't take it out on me, buddy. It's not my fault that you died and now have to spend an eternity in this place. Maybe take up a hobby or something, like finger painting or dancing. Look at how happy the undead people are in the Thriller music video. That could be you if you lighten up and network a little. Have you tried Pilates? I became really frustrated with the undead folk hanging out in this crypt, so I politely requested to speak with the person in charge, and they happily obliged after I beat the rudeness out of them. I understand now why they were so upset, because the head honcho was a major dick and 3/4. When I woke him up, he let out a scream that would make even the most Karen of Karens reconsider her life choices. The asshole nearly killed me, he had screamed so loud. At that point, I realized that the battle will not be won through sheer skill and toughness, but through cowardice. But that's okay, because when I tell the ladies about this fight, it'll be him running. Eventually, I was able to find the Sanctuary of the Finger Painters, which was quite an inviting place hidden off the side of the road with a sinister door that talks to you. How social. I was really excited to finally find a family to call my own, but I was a little surprised when I found out that they're not only finger painting enthusiasts, but also murder enthusiasts, which is awesome because those are definitely at least in my top 20 favorite activities. Sure, one of them likes killing Khajiits, but that's okay, because we're all flawed in some way or another. Anyway, I think now is a great time for me to ponder my life choices as I develop an alcohol dependency. Thank you for joining me on the first episode of my Skyrim adventure. Next time, I'll be devising a way to combat the heat-seeking missiles in the Radaway so I could get myself the gloves of the pugilist. Be sure to subscribe if you would like to see more, and I'll look forward to seeing you later on.